Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning there, family. Hello. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack here on 77 WABC. And the word is out of Israel that Israel has begun new strikes in western Iran. They are not taking a break. They're going to keep the pedal to the metal. And after an evening last night of activity, God, who the heck do I think I am sitting here talking like some sort of news anchor? It's me, TJ McCormack, here on 77 WABC. We all saw what happened. We all got that news. If for some reason you are on the flip side of the regular schedule and you're just getting up, or you've been awake for just a couple of minutes or an hour or two and you haven't looked around, it's very possible. President Donald Trump took that decisive action that we said that we knew was going to be happening within 2 weeks. I had a gut feeling last night, and I wish I said something. One of those things, you wish you said something out loud, because then I could come in today all peacocking and saying that I called it. I internalized it. I used my inside voice in my head. I bet you they're going to do it Saturday. Well, they did it Saturday. The bunker busting bombs came out, and the nuclear installations in Iran, in the words of President Donald J. Trump, obliterated. This was his tweet and his Truth Social post a few hours ago from Donald J. Trump. We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace, a full payload of bombs, all caps, dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Now is the time for peace, all caps. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, yeah. And again, the beauty of it is that Israel is not letting anything go to waste. They have begun new strikes in western Iran. That's the latest from the Middle East right there. And so there you go. Peace through strength. There's people out there already clamoring. You have Democrats on the Democrat chorus was clearing their throat at like 8:07 p.m. last night. Saturday night, the talking points went out. The missives were fired. The directives were given. Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and all the rest of them, Jerry Nadler, they all were singing from and continue to sing from the same songbook. It's literally the sheep are bleeding out there. They're all singing that song. And let's see. We'll just give you what Nancy said here on 77 WABC. By the way, Another Side of Midnight. My name is TJ McCormack. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. We have got a great show. In just a few moments, we're going to hear from New York Congressman Mike Lawler. He will be here in just a few moments. After Congressman Lawler, we're going to speak with Asaf Romarowski from Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. And then, second hour, 3 a.m., we are going to speak to Professor Lucy Easthope. And we're going to be looking at what could happen. Again, it's insane to think about, but for a long time, we've heard about these sleeper cells that have been deployed by Iran. And we've heard about, we've heard terms like dirty bombs and suitcase bombs, and we've heard, that sort of thing. And it's been sort of the subtext of what happens next if we attack Iran in the way that we did. If the United States got involved, would we find ourselves on the receiving end of, at the worst, at the least, some sleeper cell activity? A few attacks. I mean, is it a knife attack? Is it a car going rogue into a crowd of people? I mean, one of those awful headlines from around the world? Or is it something as extreme as some sort of, terrorist attack in an urban center like New York City or Detroit or LA or Chicago? Lucy Easthope will be with us live from the UK. She is an expert in urban disasters and terrorist attacks and survival of such an attack and how to handle that and how to handle yourself and what to look for. As we said last night, New York City's impossible when the Yankees and Mets are in town and there's a parade on Fifth Avenue. You can't get out of town. Imagine if you had to literally get out of town. Are you ready to do that? Do you have a plan? Do you have in the back of your head? Yeah, grid on the FDR. 1-800-848-9222 if you have any thoughts about what the president ordered last night. It finally happened. The world is safer now. How can Nancy, that's right, we were going to take a quick look at what Nancy was saying and the rest of them. I mean, it just, let's see. Nancy Pelosi. Here you go. Tonight, the president ignored the Constitution by unilaterally engaging our military without congressional authorization. I join my colleagues in demanding answers from the administration on this operation, which endangers American lives and risks further escalation and dangerous destabilization of the region. She's against taking nuclear weapons away from the number one chief, biggest, baddest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. She's against it. The world is safer now. Iran minus nuclear capability equals safer world. Safer region. Sounds like a more stabilized region. Look, are they gonna throw everything that they have left? Are they gonna throw bags of rocks at is the Islamic regime in Iran gonna be real pissy for the next? Yeah, of course. But they killed the monster in the horror movie. They took advantage of the situation. We did, the United States, in coordination with the strong and mighty and resourceful and resilient people of Israel, the IDF, Mossad. Mossad. Who does not have the Mossad at the top of their hero checklist? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. This is Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. My name is TJ McCormick, and why don't we go to let's go on over and let's talk to Congressman Mike Lawler. And we're joined now on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick by New York Representative in the House of Representatives, Mike Lawler, Republican out of the 17th District. Congressman Lawler, Trump took decisive action tonight. Getting your thoughts.
No question about it. And the world is certainly safer tonight with the elimination of Iran's nuclear program. This was a decisive, difficult, but necessary decision that the president made. and certainly one that I support. The fact is that Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror in the world. Their entire intent is to eradicate the state of Israel, to undermine and attack the United States. And ultimately, this was a decision that needed to be made, as presidents of both parties, members of Congress from both parties have said for decades, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And yet here they were, closer than ever before, to achieving that. And ultimately, they were given 60 days to negotiate by President Trump. They failed to do so. And now they deal with the consequences of that.
And so, again, it almost has the same feel as a few other things that have been happening for the last few months. Again, as you just said, it's always been stipulated by everyone on all sides that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So the sentiments have always been the same, but it just seems like we just needed a new president to carry it out.
No question. Joe Biden's handling of Iran was disastrous, especially from the standpoint of allowing the illicit oil trade with China exploding to the tune of $200 billion. That's what funded Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. That's what funded their ballistic missiles program, and that's what funded their nuclear program. And so it was paramount to stop this, and President Trump took decisive action.
So it sounds like from those couple of facts that now the entire dynamic of trying to achieve peace in the Middle East has just completely shifted now in the favor of Israel and the United States and the prevailing sentiments for peace.
No question. And if you look at what has happened since October 7th, obviously Israel has taken decisive action to eliminate the threats posed to them by Hamas and Hezbollah. You've seen the fall of Assad in Syria. And obviously Iran's missile and their defense systems have been largely decimated, their nuclear program now obliterated. This obviously is a tremendous step forward in terms of securing long-term and lasting peace and prosperity in the Middle East. And the world is safer today because of the decisions by Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump over the last year and a half.
Talking to Congressman Mike Lawler here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222. It didn't take very long for, I'm sorry, but we have to. It didn't take very long, for, some of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle to, come out. And of course, they, not only were they, not supportive of the president's move, they were calling for his impeachment based on this move. Go ahead.
It's truly mind-numbing. These are the same people who fully supported Barack Obama when he used military action in Libya, in Syria, in Pakistan, in Yemen. They had no problem then. They weren't calling for his impeachment. The fact is, Donald Trump was wholly justified in taking these actions. I support him in doing so. And to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States because he obliterated Iran's nuclear program speaks volumes to the level of Trump derangement syndrome that some of my colleagues have.
It's ridiculous. One final thing, and again, thanks for your time on what must be an incredibly busy morning for you here on Another Side of Midnight with Mike Lawler. Congressman, don't want to let you go without asking you just a little look at the landscape here in New York. Kathy Hochul, she ran here to the defense, standing by the side of Lander and his theatrics. She had a rough week on the Hill. There were some viral clips of you in the last few days going nose to nose with her on Capitol Hill. Just a few thoughts on the state of New York and our current governor.
She's a disaster, a complete and total train wreck. I mean, the fact is her response to ICE trying to detain criminal aliens is to set up a legal assistance fund paid for by taxpayers to the tune of $50 million. She has no problem marching into a federal courthouse trying to defend the actions of a fellow elected official who interfered with the ability of ICE to do its job, linking arms with an illegal immigrant to try and block them from detaining him and removing him. It just speaks volumes to the absurdity of what New York has become, and frankly, the disastrous leadership that we have at the very top.
There you go. All right. Listen, again, I know it's probably been an insane last few hours for you, so we'll let you go. Thanks for your time, Congressman Mike Lawler, here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC.
Thanks, TJ.
And there we have it. Always fighting a good fight there. Mike Lawler, 17th District. If he's your congressman, lucky you. Guilty right here. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. You can take us with you everywhere you go on the 77 WABC app. All around the world, we can be heard on WABCradio.com. And, that said it all right there. I mean, the absolute lunacy of these Democrats calling for because that's all they got. See, it's interesting. For the last few months, we've been watching Democrats die on so many 80-20 hills, the biological males in girls sports, the immigration struggles at the border, no tax on tips and fighting the president on issues like these. And now they got the notion of President Donald Trump being that much closer to a Nobel Peace Prize, which he really could pull at this point. I mean, he really could. That would actually make Democrat heads explode. They would explode, which would be delicious to see and hear and witness. But they're already starting to pop. Their heads are already popping. Nadler and Pelosi and Jasmine Crockett and just so many of them. Because again, that's all they have. When this guy goes and does something that that administration after administration has talked about, after so many red lines being blurred and crossed by the number one state sponsor of terror in the world, and you know what? And forget all the recent red lines crossed and the fact that they walked away from negotiation tables and they let a 60-day negotiating period expire and that they have committed atrocities and through proxies and that they fund this group and they fund that group and they, send out these minions around. Forget all that. Just go back to the hostage crisis. Just go back to the 400 plus days that they held Americans in Tehran back in the Carter administration. I mean, that right there, that score was just settled. And starting over the last few months with Mossad and Israel laying the groundwork, taking care of all those Hezbollah animals and the Hamas savages, all funded by Iran. And now the bunker buster comes in and takes out their nuclear capabilities. USA. Norman in Brooklyn, good morning. You are on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick.
Good morning, TJ. I commend our great president, Donald Trump, and our military for this glorious operation. And I'm not lucky enough to have Lawler. I have Hakeem Jeffries.
Sorry.
Okay. Yes, and all those Neville Chamberlains in our Congress who are now currently, I don't know, they're shaking. That's what they do. They're shaking.
Yeah, they're shaking it's really, and when you see, they just cannot bring themselves to simply saying it, even just to come out and say it's good. Okay. I've done political communications. I'm a comms guy. I do press releases for people. You know what? If I was on the other side of this, I would be begging my Democrat boss to say, look, let's just come out and let's say, job well done by the brave men and women of the United States Air Force. You know what I mean? At least say, thank God our pilots are home safe. Just that. Say that.
Right.
You know?
No, they're setting themselves up to lose in 28.
Yep.
And, if they keep this up, they're certainly going to lose in the midterms.
Yeah.
So, I hope.
Yeah.
But,
yes. Have you heard any rumblings of a potential Republican throwing their hat in the ring, against, Jeffries? In your district?
In my district, unless I run, perhaps.
Hey.
But yeah, no, I don't. This area here, it's just too gone, man.
Yeah.
It's just too gone.
I know what it feels like. I know.
No, I'm a lone conservative voice in the sea of liberalism here.
I hear you. Well, listen, don't be a stranger there, Norman. Thanks again for calling in. I'm grateful.
You're welcome.
All right, buddy. 1-800-848-9222. In a moment, we're going to be speaking with Asaf Romorowski, Executive Director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. We're going to talk then in the next hour. We will have Lucy Easthope from the UK. And that's going to be a fascinating conversation, again, because Lucy Easthope is a really fascinating expert on urban disaster survival and different scenarios like dirty bombs and that sort of thing. So that'll be in the 3 a.m. hour. It is currently 2:26 a.m. here on 77 WABC, and we're all pulling our hair out of our heads thinking about these dopey Democrats who absolutely just cannot bear to see Donald Trump do anything that gains him any sort of kudos around the world, let alone, oh my God, God forbid, a Nobel Peace Prize. Can you believe just how much closer we got to a stable Middle East? I mean, that is a paradigm shift. That is like an upside down, inside out change in the time-space continuum around the globe. Okay, maybe I'm overselling it there, but it's big. Danny on Long Island. Danny, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Danny from Long Island, who is actually driving in the middle of North Carolina to catch my flight back to Long Island tomorrow morning.
Was your kid playing baseball again?
Yes, he was.
Oh.
And my other grandkids live in South Carolina, so I made a little multi-purpose trip.
Nice.
But it's funny, you mentioned the hostage thing, and I remember in ninth grade, my social studies teacher, Al Goldman, he was also in charge of the AV department at my middle school. He rolled the television set into our social studies classroom to put the television on, and he said, "This has never happened before in American history, and this is outrageous." And we watched the takeover of the embassy live during global history. Mm-hmm. And from that day forward to the next 50-something years of my life, I'm 60 now, Iran has been the pain and the criminal, the terrorists. They've funded all of this nonsense. Yep. And I agree with you. I don't know why the Democrats, first of all, I'm old enough to remember that the proper thing to say was, we don't criticize the president while the military is in action.
Boom! Yes.
God bless our troops. Because then you say nothing. So if things go wrong, you can jump on. Or if things go right, you can say, yeah, we're there. Now you've just said we don't like the move. If the move is successful, it's political fodder for the next thing. And once you say he should be impeached, what that tells me is those Democrats put their heads down on the pillow tonight. Yeah. They're actually hoping that there is a dirty bomb or escalates for their own political gain. Because if they would have said nothing, then there would be no political game. It's not an issue. Just like I was confused as to why they're dying on the hill of illegal immigration. The people have spoken. The people want this immigration thing solved, and they want the deportations. So they should have just let it go, and it would have been into the background, and it would not have been an issue going forward. Now they keep bringing it up. They're fighting him tooth and nail, and it's still going to be an issue, and they're going to get their asses kicked again. Now, we all hope it goes well. Nobody knows what the future is. These religious zealots is what they are. They're crazy, and I think they would use anything they have. And I could probably run back videos and audio tapes of every politician on both sides of the aisle saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear warhead. And I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi has said the same. And if CNN had half a journalistic soul left in their body, they would stick that in front of her face tomorrow morning when she's on. And she'll say, well, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done it technically, but we should have been advised. Why, Nancy? Why?
Yeah. And they are all definitely throwing that caveat out there saying that, it's because that, they're saying this because Congress was not, was not apprised of it, and that only Congress can declare war. And, but listen, plenty of presidents, this one and other recent presidents have taken action that were not declarations of war, clearly.
They've done it. And the funny thing is the only sane person left in the Democratic Party, as far as I can tell, is a senator from Pennsylvania who wears sweatpants and work boots, who came out again strongly tonight, saying, "I support what the president did."
Yep.
And they're going to have to kick this guy out of the party, or he's going to run as a Republican, because they don't accept any other thought process. Everybody has to march to the same tune, which is not what happens in the Republican Party. We do have a lot of people with divergent views, and that's why the big, beautiful bill has to be, worked on, because people have different opinions, and they all get respected and have to be worked out.
Danny, I will take. Go ahead. Sorry, Democratic Party, bunch of sheep, right?
They got the marching orders from the top, and there's no diverse opinion. That's funny because I'm waiting very carefully to see, two Democratic representatives on Long Island, newly elected. Well, Swazi has been around, but he lost.
Right.
Large Jewish community for Representative Gillen. What are you going to say, darling? Make a statement. Say something. They're under the covers. They won't say a word. Right.
We'll see. We shall see. Danny, safe journey back home. Take care, Pally. All right. It is 2:32 here on 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We've got Silas, on the line, and we've got, the anti-Semite up in the Bronx. We'll see if we give him some oxygen up there. And, let's take a quick break now at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we will, grab the phones, and we will also speak with Asaf Romarowski, Middle East expert, to talk about the change of the paradigm on the ground in the Middle East, thanks to the heroic actions of the Trump administration, arm in arm with Bibi Netanyahu's Israel. Great stuff. We finally took out that nuclear capability of Iran. Great. Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick, 77 WABC. We shall return in just a moment.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
First day in the rest of our lives in a world where Iran does not have nuclear capabilities anymore. The ultimate sword of Damocles that was hanging over every single time you talked about Iran, and every single time you talked about the proxy wars, and you talked about their funding of this, and you talked about their involvement in that, and their fingerprints were all over, and squashing rebellion in the square, and the beating of the women, and the not wearing the headscarves, and throwing gays off of roofs, and the ultimate card that they played, that they held quietly, that went without saying, was the fact that no matter what we did, they were getting closer and closer on a daily basis to having a nuclear weapon. Can you imagine? The fact that we were ever in a position to be negotiating with these savages in that Islamo-fascist government, that regime. You imagine if they had actually turned that corner and achieved a nuclear bomb. What that would have meant for the balance of power and the chances of peace and the hopes of peace. Just now, that's over thanks to 6 bunker-busting bombs delivered by the mighty United States of America, our military. We did it. Thanks to the orders given by a resolute, clear-eyed, earnest, and peace-seeking President Donald J. Trump. 1-800-848-9222. Let's get to Silas on line 2 in Staten Island. Good morning, Silas. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that he did what he did, because when you have a regime of subhuman people who can't be reasoned with, and they keep saying, I'm going to kill you. As soon as we get the ability to kill you, I'm going to kill you. Well, you've got no other alternative than to stop them, period. And they've proven for the last 40 years that all they want to do is kill us and Israel. And all of the Middle East could be as prosperous as Dubai or Abu Dhabi if they get rid of these subhuman leaders who throw people off buildings, who make women do all kinds of, they put them under their thumb. And the one mistake that I hope we don't make is they may not be able to make a bomb, but they're going to buy one from one of their, either Russia or someone. They're going to buy one. They're never going to stop trying to destroy us, so we have to take them out.
Yep.
And I've always said that if we got Donald Trump in as president, if we got Lee Zeldin in as governor, and we got Curtis Sliwa in as mayor, New York would be on the road to recovery. Well, we got Trump. We better get Hochul out of there, and we better get Curtis in. Then we'll show the world that even the fake news won't be able to stop us, and the Democratic Party is going to get that punch in the face.
Boom.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. This is how the people will punch them in the face and say, how do you like me now?
Well,
we're not putting up with your crap anymore.
Well, Iran definitely has a bloody nose this morning. Thank you, Silas. Thanks for that, pal. Definitely call back again sometime. All right, it is 2:41 a.m. and let's go now to our next guest here on Another Side of Midnight. And here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC, we are joined for the third week running because the situation has now absolutely peaked in the Middle East. We are joined by the executive director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, Asaf Romarowski. Good morning. And wow, everything has changed, Asaf. 5-6 hours ago, Iran had was on the path towards achieving a nuclear weapon. Now, they're not. Good morning. Welcome to the show again.
Good morning, teachers. Thank you for having me as always.
So they're not, everything has changed. U.S. hand in hand with Israel, plotted. Tell us what we all know now about the bombing run. Tell us, everybody here in New York City, what does this mean for the dynamics playing out going forward? This is monumental.
100%. This was an historic night, and even more critical to understand the fact that there was the magnificent operational and intelligence coordination between the United States and Israel. They were able to deflect, they were able to operate properly and to coordinate these efforts, and deserve full props for making this happen in an excellent way. What we have from an intelligence perspective, and the estimations are that the Israelis in the past 10 days were able to I would say, hurt or basically destroy about 75% of these facilities, in addition to supplemental facilities, not to mention the leadership, the scientists, and others as far as the infrastructure. And now the United States came in with the next 25%. Again, it's this with the caveat that the battle damage assessment, the BDA here that we're looking at here, is still very fluid. We're not going to know until the next few hours or so, though there's no doubt that intelligence report and as far as visuals, as far as signals, are looking to actually look to see that the bunker busters did the damage that were required to take place. Fordo obviously was the most fortified of all of them, which was in the mountain that needed to be targeted and to go in. You did see by what we did see that the air ventilations, where the areas that were going in were indeed properly hit. And where the other site that was no less important, and we are hearing now that was also a challenging target, was Ifshahan, also as far as nuclear development, as far as a facility there as well. So all this was taking place successfully. I mean, what we hear now is, of course, everything was done properly. In addition to Tomahawks that came in, from the area as well, to validate all of this, as far as to amplify the B-2s and the B-52s, all very positive. So we are in a transformative point here that, to my mind, will indeed change the Middle East for the better. And from a larger perspective, I think diplomatically wise, we've been fighting Iran for the past 46 years.
Yeah.
Iran is the head of the Hydra here, and Trump showed significant will and force and the proper action that needed to take place, whereas his predecessors, who were appeasing the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Biden and Obama administrations respectively, did not do that. So I think that this is a monumental event that took place here tonight and will reverberate for years to come. And when we pinpoint this, looking at a transformative date, this will be the one we will be looking at years down the road.
This is right up there with Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall. Talking to Asaf Romarowski here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222. Now, the effect of this, not just in terms of diplomacy, but on the ground in Iran, one would hope, we've been hearing recently, we saw the Crown Prince of Iran, the son of the late deposed Shah of Iran. We saw him on TV a couple of times this week. He was making the rounds on media, and he was saying, I'm ready to lead the people of Iran in a transition. I'm ready to go back and undertake this and bring Iran back into the 21st century, and now in turn depose the Islamic revolution regime. What is there a chance? What would it take? Could this be ushering in not just an era of peace in the Middle East, or certainly an era of a lack of this nuclear threat from Iran, but could this go all the way and bring some of these young people back into the streets who had been in the streets fomenting some revolution, we thought, a few years ago? Then it kind of went away. The fist came down. Could those young people, could those 21st century revolutionaries be back in the town square in Iran sometime soon?
Potentially. I mean, look, if you look historically at Iran, there has been more pro-Western sentiment in Iran than there has been in other countries around in the Middle East. And those voices have been suppressed. They've been abused. Women's rights. We talk about, you talk to Iranian dissidents, and you also talk to individuals like you mentioned, the last Shah, son of the Shah from Iran, about what Iran used to be pre-1979, before it was a tyrannical Islamist jihadi system that was created by the Ayatollahs and has been running the show for over 4 decades. And so there is enough sentiment in Iran. I think that, it's hard to say at this point, where it's all going. I mean, the administration is not looking at regime change. I think that, what we did see, the comments that came out of the president was that he's looking to say, well, is he willing to come to the table? I think that any kind of coming back to the table now or any kind of, is a ruse. But I think that, he's looking for, kind of a white flag, coming out of Khamenei, though with the Middle East, everything is about symbolism, is about force. And I have a hard time seeing Khamenei doing that. They are going to potentially retaliate, and I think we're going to be prepared for that. But that being said, I think that, all along, the objectives that we have looked at have been clear also coming out from the Israelis since the beginning of all this, and even prior to that, since the 10/7 and all along, has been that the target has been the regime, not the people. Historically speaking, the U.S. and Israel had close ties with Iran. Iran can be, a flourishing, place once again, but that has not been the case. So there is my point is that there's a lot of opportunity now, given this historic event, but it's going to take time, and we're still in the assessment phase.
Sure.
As to what's going to happen next. And I also do not believe that the Israelis are going to stop. They're going to continue their campaign. But this is where the one angle, where there's one dimension here where they needed the United States to help them out, to keep the ball moving. And again, phenomenal, in unison action here, that was coordinated by 2 allies working together. Really one of the best, validations of the U.S.-Israel alliance and how they work well together.
Yeah, the stuff of goosebumps. It really is. It's awe-inspiring. And again, the delineation, good and evil. This is just like World War II. It's easy to root for. You know who you're rooting for. It's clear who the good guys are and who the bad guys were. We're talking to Asaf Romarowski. He's the executive director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We're on 77 WABC, of course, and it's 1-800-848-9222. And finally, Asaf, and then we'll let you go and not sleep. Last question for you. We're talking about a partnership here between the U.S. and Israel. Israel clearly taking the lead. The United States doing what was asked of it. How does this again set up Bibi Netanyahu going forward in the next few months? How does he look now?
Well, he looks good. I mean, look, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the interesting part, if you look at Israeli society in general, there has been a lot of debate inside of Israel about the conduct of the war in Gaza and the hostages and whatnot. The one consensus issue has been Iran. I mean, you're even seeing, and you've seen this all along from individuals from the left and the center inside of Israel and the opposition, who are all supporting Netanyahu in his actions against Iran. In contrast to the failure of 10/7 intelligence-wise, the Israelis have been laser focused for over 30 years on Iran and what a nuclear Iran will mean to the region itself. So you're finding less dissent within Israeli society. And by the way, if you're just going on social media today, and if you're talking, friends and colleagues that I've talked to in Israel, I mean, everybody basically is saying, God bless America, God bless Donald Trump, for making this happen. This was a phenomenal event. That, of historical proportions that will indeed transform the Middle East. And, the hope is, again, taking it a few steps further, is that the other countries, that were still, potentially debating whether or not to join, as far as normalization with Israel, a la the Abraham Accords, and namely I'm looking at Saudi Arabia. I think this will motivate them more so now, with the support of the United States, moving this along. Let's not forget that when it comes to the Saudis in particular, who are literally the defenders of Mecca, the Sunni Shiite divide, represented the fact that Iran represents the Shiites, was a direct threat to Mecca itself, to the Saudis. And this is this will make the region much safer and much better for its for all its citizens. So I think that there's going to be a lot of potential positive consequences in the region itself. Again, the war is not over yet, but there's a lot of great potentials for change.
Indeed. All right. Thank you once again, everyone. The executive director for Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. You go to SPME.org, SPME.org to see all their great work and some fascinating materials there. Asaf Romarowski, thank you so much for joining Another Side of Midnight here on 77 WABC.
Thank you as always. Good night.
Good night. Where it is 2:54 a.m. here on Another Side of Midnight, and we are in the hours after a fascinating night last night, watching the bunker busters at work. Bunker buster bombs, 6 of them raining down on Iranian nuclear sites, and a win for Donald J. Trump, a win for the people of Israel, a win for the peace seeking people of the world, most especially the Middle East. It is, let's see, you know what? Let's see. Actually, yeah, we can talk to Matt real quick and see what he has to say. Matt, not a good day for you and your fellow haters.
Well, I'd like to share with the audience a site. It's unz.com. It offers a lot of sober analysis of what's going on in the Middle East, especially vis-a-vis American involvement in the Iran, or rather Israeli.
Yeah, I was just kidding, Matt. We're not going to let you talk tonight. This is just a big win for everybody. We're not going to give you the satisfaction. Bye, Matt. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight. It's a great, night last night. It's a great morning this morning because you know what? Today's the first day for the rest of, a more peaceful existence possibly for the Middle East. Something is different that never had been in decades, and that is a lack of a nuclear threat from Iran. That's massive. Interesting point from a couple of people tonight. One caller saying, look, they're not done now. They're just going to go ahead and buy one, so anyway, let's do our, quarter of the hour break. Let's do that now at 2:56 a.m. Let's do our rolling break now here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. And, wow. We're big news, crazy stuff. They did what they said they were going to do. We all kind of saw it coming. And President Trump, you heard those remarks in the top of the hour news here on 77 WABC. And again, he has been concise and tight. He doesn't go wandering and the hyperbole and those off the teleprompter. No, he sticks to it, and he's been sticking to his message when it comes to strength through peace on both Ukraine and Iran. He has been on message and on point, and just ever since that White House meltdown with Zelensky, he's tightened it up. And in a little bit of other breaking news, it's not breaking news, but another interesting little note just saw on Twitter, Pakistan now. I believe that's along with India and somebody else. Pakistan has recommended President Trump, or will be recommending President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. While at the same time, AOC is calling for Trump to be impeached. Let's go to an interesting call on line 3. Reza, good morning and welcome to another side of midnight. My name is TJ McCormick. Welcome.
Good morning. I love your show. I just got started listening to it a few weeks ago, and I listen to it every night on my way home. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, brother.
Great job.
Thank you.
I wanted to say, I'm Iranian, and this is it's a crazy thing for me because I never knew Iran. I left when I was a baby at the time of the revolution. And my father worked for the Shah of Iran and had to leave or, it would have been curtains for him.
Yeah.
And we left, and I've lived in New York ever since. And I don't know where I'm from, really, but I can say that Iranians are good people. And I love that Trump and Netanyahu both make that clear to everybody in America that our problem isn't with people, because they really are good people. But what I really wanted to talk about was the Shah's son coming back. I mean, that's so exciting for us American Iranians, because Iran was a really great place at one time. And I really think make Iran great again. And if Trump is sincere and Netanyahu is sincere, it's a great thing, because those people over there that took over, a lot of the great Iranians left. There's so many Iranians in New York and Los Angeles and Europe, and they all would love to see their country not be what it is for the last 40 years. I would maybe be able to go back there and see where I'm from. So I just want to say, as an Iranian, I'm all with it.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, it's a corrupt regime and they're oppressing people. So if Trump is going to bring freedom there, I mean, this was one of the countries that it could actually happen with. I don't like it when they compare it to Iraq and all the other places, because the Iranian people are pretty sophisticated.
Sure. The Persian culture is just,
it's the cradle of civilization.
It is.
And let's not forget, I'm not a religious person, but I believe in God, and I just started looking at stuff and it just seems like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know where it's a complicated thing. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you get bored of callers.
No, you shouldn't, but I get bored of callers. No. I get bored of anti-Semitic callers from the Bronx. But no, Reza.
So I wanted to call and stick up for Iranians in America, and hopefully Americans who don't know much about that place can understand that the people there are good people, and peace is the way.
Indeed.
And love is the way. And I know it's hard in this day and age, but bringing freedom to that country is a great thing, and I hope the Shah's son is involved in it, because, that would be, I feel bad for my parents. They were forced out of their country at 40 years old and had to start again in America. There's a lot of great Iranians here, and I like that Trump knows that. Yeah. And that they know that there's good Iranian people. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in there.
No, I'm glad you did. And listen, Reza, I can relate, because in 1980, I was going to Catholic school in Westchester, in White Plains, where I grew up, and a young boy came into my class when I was in 6th grade, and he too and his family had fled from Iran that just immediate year prior. And it was a heavy lift for this kid. He was learning English for the first time. People were conflating the good guys and the bad guys. People didn't understand that this kid was and his family were fleeing, and he's still a dear buddy of mine. Now he's relocated out to Los Angeles, but he grew up in White Plains with me, and his family is a prominent family, and I've learned a lot from him over the years. And there is definitely something to be said. That's why I'm hoping, if you heard my conversation with the previous guest, I'm hoping that this ushers in an opportunity for the Crown Prince to, first he'd have to do it in exile, but from a safe place. But if we can see a rising up of especially the young people in Iran, if that Persian culture can make a big comeback and knock out that Islamo-fascist regime that's running things, hopefully, we can see that Iran would return to a place of prominence as a place of culture and innovation and technology and, like you said, peace. That would be fantastic.
And prosperity.
Indeed. Bring some of that. Bring some of those.
Let's just remember that Iranians speak Farsi and they are not Arabs.
Right.
It's a very common misconception in America, and I think that should be clarified. I mean, we should know about the country we're trying to bring freedom to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Listen, man, first of all, thank you for your kind words about the show. And let me ask you this.
Very cool name.
What do you thanks. What do you do? What is your career?
I'm 40. I'm an actor, actually. I'm an actor. I've been on Law and Order. I'm an actor. So, you know, but I don't really do much. I'm at home in my convertible. I'm glad you can hear me.
All right.
But I love your show, and I'll keep listening all the time.
Thank you, dude. And make sure you don't be a stranger. Call back again.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
All the best. Reza in his convertible with his actor, I'm sure actor good looks, his Persian dashing Law and Order fancy face. Look at that. All right, cool. 1-800-848-9222. We're going to be joined by our special guest in just a few moments. We're going to contact Professor Lucy Easthope in just a few moments. In the meantime, while we get our guest on the line, let's go to Glenn in Pennsylvania. Glenn, good morning.
Good morning. I'm 120 miles away from Manhattan here in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And I'm happy. I always get a good signal on my AM radio of ABC. I listen to all the time.
Great.
Sid in the morning, you at night.
Thank you. What's on your mind? Putin? You wanted to talk about Ukraine real quick?
Yes. I carefully want to make this point.
Yes.
After Ukraine destroyed many large jets of Russia, I noticed, and nobody made this point as far as I know, I noticed Putin did not threaten to use a nuclear bomb against Ukraine as Putin did in the past. Mm-hmm. It's significant because if Putin did come out and say, "Oh, I'm going to retaliate with a small nuke against Ukraine," if Putin did that, that would give an even more motivation to Trump to stop Iran from developing their nuclear capability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see the point?
Yes. No, I get it. I get it. And, again, Trump has been paying attention. He's been resolute. He's been, he hasn't been showboating this. He's been obviously contemplative. He's been, tapping his resources. He's been making phone calls. And he's been calling out his own intelligence people for by the way, Tulsi Gabbard's days are clearly numbered. One person who was absent from the Situation Room photos that we've seen this morning, the one person not there, Tulsi Gabbard. Yep. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for that phone call. And very quickly, let's get in Jay from Queens. Jay, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight with TJ.
Good morning, TJ. What a winner.
Right?
This is Tom Cruise and Top Gun at his best.
Yes, I agree. Jay.
And you know what? Not only that, China and Russia, they see now that we are powerful.
Yeah.
They won't dare together with NATO and Europe and what we got, there's no way they're going to think about attacking us.
I tell you what, Jay, you know what? And thank you for your call. Jay, that's a great point. You bring up China. China, big loser tonight. China's a big loser because they've been one of the couple of places, China and Russia, that have been, buying oil from Iran illicitly, not supposed to be doing that. They've been doing it. They've been getting money to Iran, and all of their efforts now literally blown up. So now here on 77 WABC on Another Side of Midnight, with TJ McCormick, we are joined by Professor Lucy Easthope. She's a leading expert in disaster planning and recovery. She has extensive experience advising governments and organizations on complex emergency, scenarios. She knows the human element of disaster and the long-term impacts on society where these things happen. Professor Easthope, welcome to Another Side of Midnight here in New York City. Thanks for joining us from the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. And really, it's been a couple of days, bringing it all together. Thanks for responding to my pleas for contact, on Twitter. I found you there.
No, there was no other choice. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm glad you were able to hear those last couple of calls. It's a great flavor for the audience you're talking to. You are talking to what I find to be one of the most engaged radio audiences, that being the late night, overnight, early morning people. Because those of us who are up and engaged and listening we have open minds, and we're willing to consider just about anything. And so, your specialty is a unique one. And first and foremost, the reason that I reached out, Professor Easthope, is because one of the, considerations that some people have had has been, okay, if you go and you do take this action in Iran, Iran with its back against the wall may lash out. And we've heard forever and ever about these sleeper cells. All the way back to the 9/11 days, we've heard about the sleeper cells. We've heard about everything from dirty bombs to suitcase nukes and all of these other things. What exactly, how real are those concerns?
Well, in some ways, I only work in the aftermath when they happen. I'm not in the security services. So One of the things we do see in the morning after a night that we've just had, so in Britain we're waking up to the news that the world has changed again, is that we do see a much more heightened risk of those sorts of acts. So there's the big wars fought, and then there's the at-home wars fought, and that's very, very relevant. I think one of the areas that I look at is how do people process this information and how do they get ready? And as you say, this is a great time of day to be talking to people, because often people awake at night are already thinking about these things. Yes. Definitely not worrying, but readying. And that's a big part of my work.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's times like this that we're, aware of the world around us. Like you said, people are not necessarily worrying, but thinking and contemplating. And so are the people who are looking to keep us safe. They're the ones who are always standing sentry. Absolutely. And that includes somebody like you. So let's say, I've been given the example here in New York, much like in Liverpool, they have Everton and Liverpool are the big football clubs. Here in New York, we have the Yankees and the Mets. And if the Yankees and the Mets both have home matches, and if there's a parade on Fifth Avenue, New York City is an impossible place to get into or out of. And so in the chaotic aftermath of say, some sort of, whether you go to the full extreme of some sort of, explosion or some sort of, chemical attack or something like that, let alone, some, chaotic, extreme attack like somebody, attacking a parade or some other thing. What are the absolute top few priorities that emergency responders would have, and how would effective public communication be established? What would be an immediate response by authorities, and how could civilians get themselves into a situation to best look after their own well-being in the aftermath of some sort of a terrible response from a place like Iran?
And, I'm very aware that I'm talking to a place that taught the rest of the world about this in 2001. There is a lot of experience, particularly in New York. And as I make very clear, New York is a very, very important place to me. One of the things we'll be scrabbling to do in any kind of scenario, and probably just testing very resolutely in both of our countries today, is our ways to communicate. And that may be quite old school. It might even be like messaging out through loudspeakers. But both countries use emergency alert systems. We generally want people to stay put. We have just what's been called war games for media here in the UK, that scenario, and people didn't stay put. They tried to flee their city. That can be listened to, that podcast. It's called The War Game, and it's what citizens do over 5 days. And it's really worth a listen. I would really like people in both of our countries to think a little bit more. America tends to be ahead of us in this, but really think a little bit more about how to stay put safely. So if you're asked to not leave somewhere, and that might be that you are at home, or hopefully many people are in a safe place, or it might be that you are away from home. So the two things that we ask people to get ready for is 72 hours of stay put, or a go bag for when they are out and about. So these are the kind of things that can be quite useful. There are some scenarios, I'm sat here with my copy of Annie Jacobsen's Nuclear War scenario, where really I sort of run out of energy. I haven't got the answers for a full-scale apocalypse, but I've got a lot of answers for kind of, please could you just stay where you are, which is often what we need people to do to sort of dial down the pressure on emergency services.
Yeah, because it's you have to dial down the pressure on emergency services, and you also have to consider, let's say like a Midtown Manhattan or a central London, it's just not practical to consider an evacuation. I mean, if anything, it's an impossibility, which is, what we've seen, going all the way back to 9/11, I mean, there was, an early phase where I believe the idea was, they were putting people on trains, filling them as best they could, and just sending them north and getting them out off of the island of Manhattan. So when an evacuation is impractical, it's about maintaining calm, getting off the roads, and allowing the first responders to do what they do. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC, and we are speaking with Professor Lucy Easthope, a leading expert in disaster planning and recovery. And so one of the things that first responders would try to do in a situation like that, one of their first missions, I imagine, would be containment, decontamination. What are some of the unique logistical and technical challenges of containing a disaster scene and any potential contaminants that might be dispersed in such a scenario?
So anything what we call dirty is definitely a different experience. There's a lot of fear of what we can't see. Humans are definitely trained to fight things with teeth and claws, and something like radiation is very hard to see, so it causes a lot of anxiety in responders. Again, people will be asked to stay where they are to avoid the spreading of contamination. It changes some of the things we would like to do in immediate aftermath, so bringing people together is a huge part of community resilience, but that's often very difficult in these scenarios. We would need our scientists, we would need our medics, we would need consensus from our leadership on what we want people to do, and that's been very difficult. And we've kind of, one of the most analogous experiences to this nuclear scenario is the pandemic. It can feel very different. It's very similar. People need to understand and trust the information they're getting. It needs to feel logical. And as time goes on, with some scenarios, it also needs them to allow to continue to live. And so there's a lot going on at this point. What you will be seeing, and certainly in the UK, there's a lot of this, is a kind of scurrying to get ready for these kind of scenarios. So scaling up hospitals, readying schools. And so that's the kind of thing I think very sadly, there's nothing like going into the sort of eye of the storm for people to start taking you seriously. A lot of my writing is about how it feels to be a Cassandra in all this, and people not really getting ready until they absolutely have to. What I would say, because I'm very aware of the time of day this goes out, is, as I say, don't worry with the information, but there are some things for household readiness that you can do. We may see, for example, one way we think some of the sort of political situation will play out at home is we may see cyber attacks on power, for example. So one thing to really plan for at home is power outage. Make sure you've got good lights, and of course a wind-up solar charged radio, which is very important.
Absolutely, because as we were saying earlier, it's all about communication, and you absolutely need that. That has been a growing concern, and even when I must say my mind goes to the extreme sometimes. The last time that we had not even so much a power outage where I live, my family and I live in the suburbs, about 60 miles outside of Midtown Manhattan. But the last time we had an extended internet outage at my home, I remember thinking, my God, we would be absolutely cooked in this country, let alone around the world, if that big cyber attack were to happen. What is your biggest, because by the way, Professor, and again, here on Another Side of Midnight, we're speaking to Professor Lucy Easthope. My name is TJ McCormick, and this is 77 WABC. We're talking to, New York City and, up and down the East Coast of the United States and into the interior and around the world on WABCradio.com. Professor Easthope, one thing would beget another and beget another. If there was an attack on our electrical grid, or if there was an attack on our internet capabilities, I saw a chilling estimate the other day that said that literally tens of millions of Americans could find themselves facing a true existential problem if our water supply, for example, were to be threatened. And that could be threatened by a power grid attack or an attack on our internet.
Absolutely. And these are the sorts of things where it is very difficult to warn and plan for in advance. And there are certain cases, particularly in medical scenarios, people who rely on either water and electricity for staying alive. We are very worried about certain groups of society at that time, particularly those who are very ill. What I would say, and this will sound a little bit trite and simplistic, when I do see major incidents, cut power, cut water, I was in the media in Spain a lot the last month. One thing that I would say is you see people becoming incredibly brave and resilient, working together. That's the positive side of how I get to do my work. Is you do get to see amazing innovation. What you need for that to happen is people to be spoken to very honestly about what the extent of the challenge is. I'm a little bit embarrassed in the UK talking to an American audience because you teach us how to do this sort of preparedness. So many homes are much more attuned to things like hurricane cupboards or a supply of water purifying tablets, that sort of thing at home. We are behind you in that. But that's certainly something to take it away from being something you're laughed at by your neighbours for doing to being an essential part of household readiness.
Professor, you mentioned a few moments ago how we can refer to our experiences with the pandemic. And yet one of the ramifications, one of the results of the pandemic, remains a great distrust in the authorities. And a real skepticism of how we were. And I know from paying attention to the UK, that, and I know that government has since been replaced by a new government under Keir Starmer. But still, that notwithstanding, people have, generally speaking, a bit of a distrust towards what they're told or fed by the government these days. And I'm wondering, could that potentially present a problem in the case of really needing to disseminate information? What about all the skeptics out there and people saying, for example, if they came around and said mask up here in the United States, the pushback would be monumental, saying absolutely not. You're not putting a mask on me or my children. So how about that aftermath of the pandemic? Great distrust of the powers that be.
One of the things about looking at the aftermath is I had always planned that, I might see a pandemic. I worked for that for many years, that we might end up seeing that. And one of the things we knew we would see afterwards is this massive slump in trust. So this is firstly not a surprise to me. And secondly, I think one of the things that we can do is work alongside lack of trust. When you work, for example, with disasters and tragedies caused by acts of state violence, I often work with communities who simply have no trust in their leaders at all. So what I think we'll see in the next few years is a re-establishment of who, how and why we trust. And I just don't think governments and leaders are necessarily going to get that back anytime soon. I also love a bit of dissent. If people say this isn't going to work, try this. And we have to find a way of hearing different sciences. What I do think, and it's why I'm talking to you in the middle of the night, is where people will get their sources, who they will trust, you yourself. These are the things that we will see change. And so I think that's been a big thing for me the last couple of years, is people are shifting who they will listen to. That can obviously have a downside. But one of the things that I am very comfortable with is we can still respond effectively to communities alongside misinformation, alongside lack of trust. One of the things that's scaring me from our leaders at the moment is they're saying, the world's gone a bit feral. People aren't listening to us anymore. And I think, good. You need to up your game.
Yeah.
You need to give science delivery better. Lots of leaders pre-pandemic and civil servants around them have got very lazy about the quality of information they put out, the type of expertise they use. I mean, I did a radio piece in the pandemic, and somebody said at the end of it, "Are you actually a professor?" They didn't mind whether they put me on as a professor or not. I said, "No, it's my rap name. I am actually a professor." But, check who you put on to tell people what they do. Check what their credentials and their experience is, and check their motivation. I don't have any interest in solar-powered torches. Right. What I do have an interest in is getting communities through.
Professor Lucy Easthope is with us. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. If you have a question, if you'd like to be part of this conversation, if anything has struck a nerve, if you are sitting there with your own questions about what to do in the event of an emergency, in the event of an urban attack, something that you would need to survive, if you have any questions at all, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. Professor Easthope, I'm going to ask you, we'll just take a very, very quick break here at the bottom of the hour. I'd ask you to stick around and for one more bit of a conversation, and then we'll let you get on with your lovely Sunday in the UK. Would you hang in there for just a few moments? Let us take a quick break and we'll come back.
Of course I will. Thank
Wonderful.
You.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. So Professor's going to hang for a moment. Please join the conversation. Any questions, anything that you have, for Professor Lucy Easthope here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We shall return. Give us a call. 1-800-848-9222. Be right back. 77 WABC.
Another Side of Midnight. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
We are joined by Professor Lucy Easthope out of the UK, live with us from the UK. She's a leading expert in disaster planning and recovery. And welcome back to the show there, Professor. Thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you.
Of course, thank you. And we are joined by Pamela in New Jersey. Pamela has a question. Thanks for joining. Hello there, Pamela. Good morning.
Good morning. I agree with that. You can't panic about everything. I feel better already that we had decisive action. And I remember 3 Mile Island with the leakage of radiation. And the stay put theory is important because the first plume of radioactive leakage is the most dangerous. So, it sounds silly, but you keep your windows closed and you stay put. What are you going to do? Run around and panic? I mean, you can't do that.
What does that sound right to you, Professor Easthope? What Pamela just said about the first plume of nuclear of a nuclear release being the most problematic?
Absolutely. And I also just want to give a big shout out to Pamela for the wider message, which is a great one to spread amongst family and friends. As well as panic being contagious, we see calm is contagious. So Pamela's a great calm voice within her family and her community to spread exactly the right message. And this comes back to this point we made about trust. You might not trust your leaders, but you can trust Pamela.
That's a good point. You can trust your neighbors, for sure. And thank you, Pamela. Thank you. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. We're talking to Professor Lucy Easthope. I'm wondering, Professor, let's say you were home, in your part of the UK, and, you're a family, not necessarily you, Lucy, but, you're a family of four. Your mobile phone goes off. There's an emergency. Let's say a radiation leak, let's say, for example, actually a suspected, ricin attack, some sort of poison gas attack, in the underground. Okay. So that would translate well here to Midtown Manhattan. Family of four, dad's out with one of the kids at the park. You're home with the other child. What is the first thing? Oh, go ahead.
No, because the one difficult thing there is if we lose mobile communications, everything changes. There's a lot we ask people to do with mobile comms, first of all.
Okay.
So that's a real challenge. There's two different types of response, really.
So let's say we have our mobile devices, all right? And we get word somebody's outside the house with one child. I'm home with the other child. We get word that there is some sort of attack. What is the first thing that you're looking to lock down? What is the first move that you're making? In order to step in the right direction towards making your family safe in that moment?
And it sounds like I'm sort of answering the question with a different answer. But
Sure.
One thing I would say is the best thing you can do to get ready for that exact scenario is do exactly what you did there and talk about it as a family. So one of the things, for example, the stay put may mean is that we defy our natural instincts. The one parent out with the child stays where they are and follows the instructions of the emergency services, and the other stay at home and stay where they are. And that's a big call we see people trying to get to each other. So that stay put really is a really difficult thing to talk about because it's about going against some of your instincts sometimes. It is really important we will try and get radio messages out in many ways as soon as possible. So as I often post about, I'm a big fan of wind up and solar charge radios because the state will try and get advice out to you. Stay down, stay low. Look for guidance from the emergency services, and sort of wait as told. But also, there's things that we suggest people do. There are citizen support courses people can do, and there's first aid courses people can do. So very little can actually be done on the day. What you need to do is be ready. And so that's, have this conversation. If you're listening now, wait until the family wakes up tomorrow and have that conversation with them. The other thing, if we do still have mobile comms that we're finding so important, is if you can let somebody know that you are okay, because then they stand down wherever they are. So if you can let the other half of the family know you're there, you're safe, and then they can just sort of stay safe with whoever they're with. So being able to contact people is really important. And agreeing as a family, a lot of people are coming off their phones. Some people understandably have turned off emergency alert systems, but having this conversation now is really important. I don't see many people going through life without some sort of disruption to their day anyway. So this is a really good sort of family or household discussion to have.
That voice you hear is clearly not from the New York metropolitan area. That's our guest, Professor Lucy Easthope, live from the United Kingdom. She's a leading expert in disaster planning and recovery, and she's our guest right now on Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormick, on 77 WABC. We always have a lot of fun on this show. We have a lot of upbeat conversations and energetic stuff. But like I said, every once in a while we will take a turn this way or that way at this time of night. This time of the morning, frankly. For these kinds of conversations, because again, this is when our minds are open and we're willing to accept different scenarios. Our guard is down intellectually, and yet our antenna is up intellectually. Our radar is up, and we're more willing to consider more extreme scenarios and possibilities. So if you have any questions in our remaining moments with Professor, then please 1-800, you know the number, 848-9222. And so, a moment ago, Pamela called up and she mentioned 3 Mile Island, a well-known nuclear disaster here in the United States, in Pennsylvania. And we have a couple of times we've referred to September 11th, 2001 and the pandemic. So from past disasters, what specific lessons from other urban disasters, for example, natural and human-made, would you think would be most critical to apply? And again, I keep going back to this dirty bomb scenario, but I mean, let that be sort of an umbrella, sort of a reference. When I say that, I mean, so let's just say more like a larger terrorist attack, because again, right now, the number one state sponsor of terrorism on the planet has just been punched in the face. And yet we do know, and again, this is not what I know that's not your specialty. It's you don't necessarily do that sort of security planning, but it is stipulated that they had been putting out their people around the world. It's sort of an accepted notion that there are probably people lying in wait, waiting for an order. And look, it may not be Iranians. It could be one of their proxies. It could be China on behalf of Iran here in Midtown Manhattan. So, my long meandering question comes here. What specific lessons, what would be most critical to apply to that sort of a terrorist attack in a place like Midtown Manhattan, central Chicago, the middle of London, particularly regarding preparedness and public engagement and long-term recovery, Professor?
So in disaster studies, we use something called isomorphism. We don't need the disaster to be, or the attack to be entirely analogous to the one before for us to take really good lessons for it. So one of the things, for example, around the world, we use as an example of why people might not evacuate is the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, for example. So it doesn't need to have a dirty scenario for us to be learning from it. So Hurricane Katrina is very analogous for how people will stay, how people will be hindered in evacuation. Personally, I've responded to lots of different types of incident, and certainly two of the ones here that are very memorable are responding to Novichok and to polonium. And there's definitely a massive reliance on fast science. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a different fear in the population that we would have to think about. And there's what we see with a lot of those scenarios is that we have to remove very important rites and rituals. So, again, very analogous to the pandemic. It's very difficult for people perhaps to have a proper funeral for somebody involved in a contaminated incident. So we see a lot of long-term pain that's very, very difficult to fix. It's a very common terrorism tactic to imply there might be more to something than there is. A lot of terror is about fear. So in anything that would happen in the next few weeks, the scientific advisors would be very, very nervous that there would be something to worry about. The other thing, of course, when countries are at war and countries are engaged in these things, the leadership can be quite distracted, so things can continue to happen at home. So one of the things that I would say is I think you will see over this summer, my speculation is that both of our countries will raise their levels of heightened awareness to these sorts of attacks. Again, it's that conversation we talked about. It's talking with your family about being caught outside. It's talking with your family about the communication strategies as a family you want to have. Keep your phone charger with you. Keep your phone charged.
There you go. Which I'm always telling my 13-year-old anyway, because I'm so tired of her telling me that her phone is not charged. I'm always telling her, charge your phone. Now I won't scare her. So yeah. Charge your phone in case they bomb us.
It doesn't scare them.
Exactly.
It's really empowering. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, look, we tell our children, like you said, it's about being straightforward, and I mean, look, personally, since there have been different things happening around the world, and look, people go, there was that awful incident in Liverpool that was not terrorist related when the car went into the crowd in the celebration parade. But the people, the first thing that the government did was they begged people not to speculate and go out with crazy myths and disinformation. So actually, we're going to very quickly get to these couple of calls with Professor Easthope. Let's get over to Joan in Manhattan. Joan, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. I want to discuss this bombing in Iran. I don't know if you're talking about that now.
Oh, actually, do me a favor. Hold on there, Joan. I want you to hold on because we're speaking specifically to Professor Easthope about preparedness. So let's quickly go to Russ in White Plains. Russ, man-made disaster. You're on the air with Professor Lucy Easthope in the UK.
Thank you, Professor. I've heard that PTSD is worse with man-made disasters and natural disasters, obviously, because there's a human agency involved. It's repeatable. It's not just like a hurricane. But, Professor, I'd like to know, is telling civilians to get out of Tehran or else, is that a form of terrorism that Trump did? And I'll listen to your answer.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I wonder if, is that really, is that a question that you feel comfortable answering?
Well, I'll certainly answer the first part, which is that we don't see difference between levels of PTSD between sort of geographical and seismic and weather disasters. I tend not use the word natural disaster. They can be equally harming, and that's really important in this. It comes back to our earlier point about misinformation. You're going to see a lot of kind of speculation, is war worse? And what that does is it stops us being able to, again, use that isomorphism, use what we've learned from flooding and hurricanes and things. So it's really important that people don't create what we call a disaster hierarchy here.
Ooh, interesting.
I think for the world in emergency planning, the minute that Trump ordered removal of citizens from key countries, that was our warning. I'm not a security specialist, but by God, I listened to them.
Yeah.
And that was the moment.
He was definitely saying, protect yourselves. All right. Final call for Professor Easthope. Jim in Nutley, New Jersey has a question about a response that people can take. Jim, what's your question?
Yes. I'm wondering if she would recommend keeping, I think they call them KI pills in your home in case there's radiation fallout. I mean, I have some home here, but it would take me a while to find them. Especially even if you live next to a nuclear power plant, I think it'd be safe to have them in your home.
What about that anti-radiation pills and what is it that people take when they Go ahead.
Potassium iodide, it's a really difficult one, and thank you for that, because that's exactly the sort of question where the public want a yes or no, and then somebody like me comes with a big ramble. So for households immediately around nuclear plants, we may pre-issue. It's got a very mixed science, and it does have some preventative qualities in the first stage of a nuclear incident. I am being told that certain online distributors have seen an increase in the purchase of potassium iodide. I haven't got that in my disaster kit. It's because it's so short time limited, really, for how long it's effective. And it's not really effective for, say, the Chernobyl type scenario where things sort of blow across countries. There's very different planning if you live near a nuclear facility than there is for a population in nuclear war. I don't have that in my kit would be my personal advice, but it's a very much a known treatment in the early days.
We are speaking to, and we're about to say goodbye to, Professor Lucy Easthope, leading expert in disaster planning and recovery. Professor, you on Twitter, you are at Lucy Go Bag. Everyone, please go find and follow Professor Easthope at Lucy Go Bag. The next time we have you on, actually, I'd love to have you on sometime in the coming months, and we can discuss a go bag and what must be in that go bag. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but I really, really would love to cover that, Professor.
I'll be there.
Very, very cool. And now we know where to find each other. Professor Lucy Easthope, thank you so much for joining us here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure was ours. Thank you very much. All right, everyone. We are going to take a quick break, and if we don't get to Joan and Frankie, I want you guys to hang on into the next hour. But let's take our quick break here, our floating little passing moment, and we shall return. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning, everyone. And, yes, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick here on 77 WABC. 1-800 848-9222. I was told by a very dear friend, slow down on the phone number. I was ripping through it the last couple of nights. So, okay. So we're definitely this morning taking it easy. 9222. As we go back to the phones and make sure we service all of our friends and family who join us, my thanks to Lucy Easthope for joining us from the UK. That was a fascinating conversation. And the next time we speak with the professor, we're going to talk about what should be in your go bag. You should have a go bag. I lived in LA for 15 years, and that is a thing out there. We had it. My wife and I had bags in our cars because it was one or the other. It was an earthquake or a wildfire. That's what we were prepared for. And you know the other interesting thing when you live in Los Angeles, one thing you never ever see. You know what you never see? Aside from a Republican, you also never see in Los Angeles or a snowstorm in Los Angeles. Nobody puts any big wall hangings over their bed because of the earthquakes. No big paintings. It's one thing. Here, people always have like a big something or other, mirror on the ceiling. I speak for myself. No, you never see that. You never see anything big over the bed because everybody's afraid it's going to fall off in an earthquake. Anyway, so yes, in this final hour of, the Sunday morning version of Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. In a few moments, we're going to finally enjoy some fun with Ellen Karras. And before we do that, let's get over to Frankie on line 2. Frankie, welcome. Willkommen. Come on in.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's speak of theology. God will not be owned. He does not own us. He himself is a unique soul with unique features and bodies, or bodiless, nameless, like stardust from a nova.
Mm-hmm.
Some supernovas, creating unique moments, energy, precious human beings with what can be answers economically in a warless world. So sprinkle and even rain a little bit. Like, in other words, sprinkle it out to each other everywhere. All aggressive violence, okay?
Yeah. All right. I got you.
Stop.
I hear you, Frankie. You know what?
We create volunteers, the arbiters of peace. You understand?
I hear you, Frankie. So, you know what, Frankie, it's a good message. And you know what? Look, if we can sprinkle some love in amongst the violence and the angst and the ugly, that's kind of what we were talking about last night in the recovery hour, right? We were talking about, living life on life's terms in a state of grace, according to God's will. And being grateful, living a life in gratitude, right? Let's very quickly get over to, let's get to Melvin in the Bronx. Melvin, go Bags!
Yes, I understand that you talk about self-preservation in case of a natural disaster.
Yes, sir.
Well, the city of New York, the way the city of New York is situated, the Bronx is the only part of the city that's connected to the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the city consists out of Manhattan Island, Staten Island, and Long Island, which has 4 counties.
Yep.
The city of New York a number of years ago had what they call surf teams, free to attend and learn about how to preserve yourself. Community emergency response teams. The attendance at these sessions were, I attended it. It explained, because the last time a natural disaster hit besides the past hurricane was in 1680 when a hurricane tore apart New York City. But even then, people need to understand about the concept of having an emergency bag, a go bag, so you can grab real quick, and also have an address you can meet later on, go to.
Yes,
after
a
the
meetup spot. Yes, you have to have a meetup spot. My wife and I had that when we were in LA. And we should do that here. No exception, right, Mel?
Very definitely. Now that the city and the state of New York do have the resources, but they spend in a way that's not productive to the residents of this particular land area. This state right here, New York, of course, on Wall Street, the financial capital of the world, has all the resources at its disposal due to the taxation, the tax revenue that they collected. That's why I keep on saying that this criminalization, all it does is have you spend money with people going to get intoxicated, people going to gamble, people are definitely going to fornicate. So people all. Look at
I know what you got in your go bag, Melvin. And Melvin, I got a joke. Melvin's got some fun stuff in his go bag. Yeah, thank you, sir. All right. Very quickly, we're going to get to Mitch, and then Keith real fast. Let's get to, Mitch. Good morning. Welcome in Danbury. You're on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. Oh, he was playing Happy Days. Okay, he's happy we bombed Iran. And Keith has a different perspective on this. Keith in Cincinnati, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
I'm a little bit disappointed about these bombing raids.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I wanted a lot more damage and a lot more people killed.
Ooh.
For instance, besides the bombing on the nuclear facilities, I wanted us dropping, for instance, Moab bombs, daisy cutter bombs, fuel air explosive bombs on different places in Iran. Like, for instance, the presidential palace where the country's president lives, their equivalent of their Congress. I wanted that place bombed. I wanted the complex where the supreme leader lives. I wanted that bombed, and I wanted a daisy cutter bomb dropped right down the pike on the bunker area where he's supposedly hiding out. And also, I wanted daisy cutters and Moab bombs dropped on the Iranian.
You know what? Probably. You know what you filed this under, Keith? And look, you get me at a moment. I could see myself agreeing with all that. I mean, these are the guys, the arbiters, or rather the contributors to arguably all of the terrorism around the world. And that would be nice to see them get their due. At the same time, America's supposed to take the high road, and America's supposed to say on this side of joining them, and, maybe we get to, see them brought to a different kind of above bar justice, and maybe get them to the criminal courts in The Hague, and that would be maybe the move. So listen, it's 4:12 in the morning, and this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We try to keep it light, and we try to have a good time whenever we can. We have some interesting conversations about fascinating stuff, and we talk about some mysterious stuff, and we also have a laugh every now and then. And so it's time for that sort of conversation right now. And now here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick, here on 77 WABC, joined by the one and only, and already I'm a hack with this pathetic, tacky, ridiculous, unworthy intro for one of the funniest women ever and just the dearest friend, so smart, so cool, and what a career and what a cool lady, and I genuinely love, this intro just got so much better, the one and only Ellen Karas. Ellen Karas, welcome to my new show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
For us.
Yes.
For the public that you are back on radio. I cannot believe it. And on WABC, which, and I swear this is the absolute truth. I listen to every day. I listen to all the shows. I've been on a few of the shows, and it's the perfect place for you. And I love that you're in this nocturnal time slot.
Yeah. Right.
So, I want to just take us down memory lane for 2 seconds.
Sure.
You were out in LA many, many years, and you had a radio show, and I came out to visit, and you invited me on the show, and I came out. I was in LA, and I had to go to the Valley. Yeah. So, for anybody that doesn't know, it's like, it's like a good 20-mile drive.
Yeah.
At like 6 in the morning. To be on your radio show. We had the best time. We were there till we were finished at 9 a.m.
Yeah. It's like now what?
Crazy. Yeah, it's the opposite.
That's so funny. That's
Congratulations congratulations. I'm really happy for you. It's going to happen to a better person.
Oh, you're the best. And and it really, it's a ridiculous blessing to be here for Mr. Catsimatidis and Chad Lopez and everybody here to, give me this shot is just, I mean, I grew up listening to 77, WABC. And I mean, you know, it's next level blessings. And so, you know, and now, that we've, branded this, in the form of, Another Side of Midnight, means the world to me. And to christen this new thing with you, Ellen Karas, it's just the best. And so, you know, I mean, like, you know, I mean, you and I are kind of like a couple of weather fronts meeting, you know, in a great clash here. So let's get this energy going. First of all, since last we spoke, and the last time we spoke on the air in any capacity was, I mean, well prior to COVID, but I mean, New York City has just turned to absolute mush. And now there's a bunch of people who are fighting to, I think the task at hand for anybody who becomes the next mayor of New York, God willing, it's Curtis Sliwa, but for anybody who becomes the next, it's going to be to repair damage that was started like 2 mayors ago by Bill de Blasio.
Bill de Blasio is...
That's Ellen winding up. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
It's just, you know, look, I'm a Christian. I don't wish anybody bad. I'm not supposed to.
Right.
But I really do hope that man gets a case of herpes where you can't even cure it with Valtrex, because that's how much I cannot stand him. He first of all, he loved COVID, by the way. He loved it because he got to tell us what to do. We got to stay inside. We got to be away from each other. We can't spend any money. All the stores are closed. Yay, capitalism is being destroyed. I mean, the fact that this guy was mayor not once, but twice. And unfortunately, the problem is, I don't think, I like to think, because I'm a New Yorker my entire life, I like to think that it's not because New Yorkers liked him. The turnout is so low, and that's who went out to vote for him. But you are absolutely correct. He destroyed anything. Not that I was a huge Bloomberg fan, but, you know, he was, my gosh, he was so much better than these guys. You know, he destroyed anything Bloomberg did, clearly destroyed anything Rudy Giuliani did, just turned everything upside down. It was just a free-for-all. You know, and then we had an opportunity to change it, and they went for Eric Adams, and Eric Adams has the gift of gab. Now, I've actually met him a couple of times when he was Brooklyn Borough president. I had done ovarian cancer walk in Prospect Park, and he came. He's very personable. I totally see that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the first time he came, he was heavier Eric, and the second time he came, he was skinny Eric because he lost all the weight because of diabetes and whatever. So that's like the only thing I give him any credit for. But he ran on the whole thing that he was a cop. And if you listen to Curtis Sliwa, who I am 100% with you, please, I beg everybody, please. I tell my liberal friends or my Democratic friends or people that are not even engaged, I go, just do me a favor. Just give him a chance.
Right, just this once.
Like, right, they always got the guy with the just please, just listen to him. Listen to what he stands for. And don't, you know, but he didn't run anything. Trust me, he knows people. He's been around this man for 40 years. He's been fighting crime. He is our Batman. He will put the right people in place. You know, so anyway, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, but we had a chance to have Curtis and we've got Eric. And, you know, he's turned out to be a catastrophe. And who knows what shenanigans were going on and he got caught up on. And, you know, I don't know if we're ever going to really know that. But right now he's got 3 life preservers on. And the guy is delusional too, you know, because he keeps saying, you know, crime's down. I'm doing a great job. Aren't I doing a great job? He's so insecure. Right. He has to keep coming. He has to keep complimenting himself.
Yeah.
And he's smoking cigars. He's with anti-Semites. I mean, the guy's a mess.
Anti-Semites are everywhere, by the way. They're everywhere. They're just coming from out of the woodwork. And just when you would think that anti-Semites, like cockroaches, you would think when the light is shined on them, they would scatter. There is something particularly bold. And by the way, it's me, TJ McCormick. It's Another Side of Midnight here on 77 WABC. And we're talking to Ellen Karas, who you can find all over social media at Greek Chick Comic. Go there. Go find all of this brilliance. You can find it 24 hours a day, on all the platforms. It's something that's just blown my mind, Ellen, is how they've been exposed, everybody from the college level to to academia, to their teachers and the presidents of these universities, all the enablers of anti-Semitism, the oldest hate, the original hate in the world. And yet, for some reason, you get the sense that they're emboldened. They're like Rocky at the end of the movie. They just keep coming back.
Well, it's a bunch of things. First of all, hate speech is not free speech, and that point really needs to be driven home. And it's honestly, TJ, it's all part of the no law and order, right? It's the same thing with the looting. Like, it's okay to walk into CVS and just take things and run out. It's the same thing. Although I do have to tell you, de Blasio loved looting. Eric Adams actually he's trying to do something. I know he's trying to pass a law where he's saying that you can still loot, because it's your right. But now when you loot, you have to take your own bag. You have to bring your own bag, okay? You can't take the bags anymore. It's so insane. But and not to make it a little light, obviously, about anti-Semitism.
No, you gotta. It's upside down world out there. Go ahead. The anti-Semites.
And I mean, I'm a Christian, but we live in our neighbors, everybody, people that are married into our family are Jewish. It's amazing because New York City, what's great about New York City is we all live together, right? We're all how is this even possible? I grew up here. I never remember any of this.
Nope.
And we can't ignore the fact that people are absolutely being paid to be agitators. That has become a career. I'm sure there's probably people have it on probably their LinkedIn page. I mean, I don't know. I didn't go searching for it. But,
I'm happy to announce my new position.
It's just unbelievable. I look at all these protests. I'm like, does anybody have a job? Does anybody do their laundry? Right. Does anybody have to run an errand? Does anybody make their bed? What is going on? How do these people have all this time? It's like everybody's sitting in a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:00. I've got 27 jobs. I mean, I just don't understand it. But the hate, the vitriol, it's like, listen, you know what? You don't have to be friends with anybody. You don't have to have a cup of coffee with someone that's Jewish. That's fine. It's okay. I mean, you don't have to have a cup of coffee with someone that's Greek. You don't have to like us. But this is this is just beyond locking janitors in closets and all of that.
The pounding,
and taunting.
The pounding on the doors and the locking the kids, and you would think that would have been, that would have been the critical mass. That I thought when that happened, and was it Cooper Union? I think it was Cooper Union is when that happened, when those kids were, and that creepy video of the students, the Jewish students who were taking shelter. Just think about that. To isolate that phrase. Jewish students were taking shelter. That right there. There's your critical mass. Right. That's where the entire world should have said, okay, that's it. And yet, the enabling just kept coming. And like you said, and I thought, brilliant. By the way, Ellen Karas, everybody, you heard an absolute golden nugget of brilliance there. Your comparison of this anti-Semitism and the normalization of it, and you know how the liberals always, the left would always say, how'd you normalize, why would you normalize Donald Trump? Why have him on your show? Remember? They're normalizing anti-Semitism, and your comparison to like the broken windows, That's genius, because that is so true. Because once you get used to broken windows and jumping turnstiles and all of the other ancillary crimes that come with it, you're already desensitized to it. It's not going to have the same impact. Once you walk past 1,000 broken windows and walls and walls and walls of graffiti and human excrement on the street, when you hear a scream, you go, it's a scream, you know? And same thing with the anti-Semitism.
It goes to another level. So the mayor, doesn't make, really, for the most part, doesn't make all the laws. Everything, most of the stuff comes from the assembly, right, in the state.
Yes,
we're just talking about New York right now, and the city council. The city council, they're like terrorists.
Yeah.
I mean, other than like Vicky Palladino and the 6 Republicans that are on there.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, what are these people thinking? And you know what really irks me is that because it's really become about the criminal and not the victim until it happened to your kid, to you, to your mother, to your uncle, to your grandmother. It's just absolutely amazing, and just to take it like even at a higher level, when we talk about the illegals, that all these politicians now, they're falling on the floor with the illegals. These criminals. Okay, criminals. Aside from the fact that when you do come here illegally, what part of illegal are you not understanding in the definition? But let's just isolate the criminals for now. I mean, violent, horrible, vile criminals, and they they should have due process. No, they should have nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they've wreaked a ton of havoc, and the money that we spend on all of this nonsense. I mean, New York State, we're one of the highest tax paying states. And for what? What are we shelling out?
And they spent $5 billion in 2025. They spent $5 billion on hotels, cell phones, and gift cards for illegal migrants. $5 billion. And actually there was another billion spent in like the first quarter of 25, right? That was 24. In the first quarter of 25, it was another $1.5 billion. And like you said too, Ellen Karas, by the way, everybody, Ellen Karas, Greek chick comic, EllenKaras.com. This is, Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ McCormick here on 77 WABC. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. Ellen, you nailed it too. And something that people just don't get. They don't get that there are layers here in New York State. You talked about the council, right? City council. You get the sense that people are, you mentioned Vicky, and there are other Republicans. There are very conservative Democrats. What's his name? Robert Bob, the guy in Queens. I almost worked there, as a matter of fact, and I'm blanking on his last name. 50 people are calling to help me out with that. But anyway, the city council has its moments and areas of sanity where they elect conservative Democrats and Republicans. It does happen. But then, the big problem is up in Albany. You've got supermajorities in the Assembly and the Senate, and you've got an absolute, oh my God, we haven't even gotten to Hochul. I can't even, I would love to sit and watch TV and watch an hour of Hochul. I'd love to watch that with you. You must feast on this woman when she shows up on your TV.
Let me tell you something. Okay.
She's winding up again.
I live on the Upper East Side. I had to drive to a gig to Long Island.
Okay.
I went up the SDR Drive. I went across that little Washington Bridge there, down the Bronx, down the Deegan, I found my way into Queens. I took all the road to get to the LIE because I would rather spend $50 in gas than give Hochul my $9. Okay? Okay. She is just such a witch. Yeah. And let me give you a beauty tip, sweetie. Why don't you, first you do the Botox, then you paint on the eyebrows, okay? Not the reverse.
Right.
I mean, she's just awful. She did, she was the lieutenant governor. because of Andrew Cuomo,
yeah.
which we need to touch upon that in a second. Because because he resigned in disgrace.
Yep.
And but then she won, and then she won. I do feel better coming up in 2026.
Yes.
Because now we have a bullpen. We've got either Blakeman or Lawler or Elise Stefanik,
right,
who completely annihilated Hochul the other day. She should be embarrassed.
Yep.
Kathy should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
She's. I don't want to say she doesn't know what she's doing. She's not dumb. None of these people are dumb. They really do know what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is their agenda. You know, for whatever reason, wherever she's getting a kickback, whatever it is.
Yeah.
She doesn't do anything to be pro-business. We've got natural gas in this state. Yep. We do have plenty of land. We used to have factories, right? Back in the day. When we
had our own Rust Belt.
Right. Xerox. And I understand some of these companies, they went out of business, but you can replace them with other companies.
Oh, they're businesses, God forbid.
Right. We should be Silicon Valley of the East.
Yep.
But there's nothing pro-business about her unless it's about the Buffalo Bills stadium because her husband's involved in that. And you know what too, TJ? You know what really bothers me too? They think we're stupid.
Yep.
They think we don't know.
Yep.
We
nailed
don't know.
it. Yep.
I do have an accounting background. For anybody that doesn't know,
that's right. You were on Wall Street forever.
I don't mean to brag, but I was a CPA. I left so I can do the lucrative job of being a stand-up comic because you know how much dough that we roll in when we choose that career. But
I'm still spending that money.
but there's nothing pro business and the crime and then the whole no bail thing, which started with Cuomo. So let's just loop back to Cuomo.
Yeah.
The fact that this man is on the ballot is a disgrace.
Yeah.
It's an absolute disgrace. And the arrogance of this guy, everything that he did while he was governor, and again, he talks down to you. He's so condescending. And his handling of COVID was an absolute catastrophe. He lies through his teeth. I mean, he goes back to your Trump, the ships had COVID on them. I mean, he's such a liar. Just everything. He wrote a book. You wrote a book while bodies are in trucks and freezers outside of funeral homes. How dare you?
Yeah, the arrogance. The arrogance is just, again, it's because, again, they feel impervious, the Democrats in New York State, because generally speaking, unless you're Eric Adams, generally speaking, Democrats don't get challenged. They don't get challenged intellectually. They don't get challenged by the media. They don't get challenged by the voters, their constituents, because like you said, there's great voter apathy. People don't show up. And again, there's this is Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. We're talking to Ellen Karas, at Greek Chick Comic, all over social media. And she's just a ball of fire. She brought it tonight, and we didn't coordinate any of this. I knew we could just push the button and we'd go. So let me, in our couple of minutes remaining, let me bring you around. We mentioned Cuomo. Let me bring you around to this mayor's race, and I guess we can finish on this because so much is riding. We started our conversation saying that the next mayor is going to be fixing damage started by de Blasio. This, first of all, the weighted voting just confuses. I have no idea. We're in the 6th round. Cuomo's now got 80% and it's up from 50 and I don't know who's in second. And over there you got Brad Lander and all these other whatevers. So, this mayor's race, what do you think? I mean, aside from the fact that we know that it has to be Curtis, who do you think he's going to be facing in the final?
I think at the end of the day, it will be Cuomo. Just from my own little sample, I see that people are running more toward him. There definitely is a young contingency of Mondamis. And I think those listen, it's scarily large. You know what I'm saying? He's not a fringe guy. You know, he's young, and then they throw out this free.
Yep.
And his constituents either are on mommy and daddy's dime or really don't have a clue about what it is to ultimately having to take care of yourself as an adult.
Right.
And they just drink the Kool-Aid, and they always talk about, I mean, I've been hearing about affordable housing, forever.
Right.
Meanwhile, again, all I see is the older buildings being torn down.
Right.
Okay, fine. People sell them, whatever.
Sure.
And then multi-million-dollar apartments being built.
There are tens of thousands of empty, affordable houses. And the thing is the reason those things never get transformed or never get updated is because it's cheaper and easier for the landlords to take the write-off than it is for them to renovate and put those units on the market.
Right. Right. Well, I think also what's going to happen is there's a lot of office space that's vacant that people are never going to come back, and I think those are going to be turned into residential buildings. But just to get back to your question, I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Cuomo because he's more of the known person for whatever Democrats go out to vote in that crazy primary. I'm a CPA.
Right.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure out the math. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be him. Blanders can roll around on the floor all he wants and have a tantrum. No one's going to pay attention to him. All these other people, blah, blah, who cares?
Right.
And then it's going to be Curtis. And Cuomo's going to, he's going to be his arrogant self. So I'm praying that Cuomo brings the receipts because he's got them. Curtis brings the receipts. I know he does, and that's what he's got to really pull out. And Cuomo's going to go after him about not being able to run anything, and Curtis needs to have all of his answers all lined up. So
I agree.
Listen, and I have a friend. I have a friend. She's a comic friend, and she's, as a matter of fact, I've gotten her to think on our side. And she says to me one day, "Oh, but Ellen, Cuomo's so cute."
Oh my God!
And I said, all right, Darlene, I'll tell you what, go ahead and try to maybe hook up with him. I won't tell your husband, just vote for Curtis. Okay? Just vote for Curtis. That's all I don't care what you do with Cuomo.
God. Hey, you know what? It would be worth it. Take one for the team for sure. No, definitely, without a doubt. And honestly, it's like, if anybody can go toe to toe with Andrew Cuomo, it is our Curtis. And I tell you, you know what? And it's funny because sometimes it takes a few days for the penny to drop with me. It didn't, I took my eye off the ball for a minute, and I completely forgot the fact that you've got what's his name, Adams, running as the independent. We could have a classic split the vote thing, and our boy comes right down the middle.
Right. Well, let me tell you, when Adams declared himself being an independent, which we all know why he did that.
Sure.
We were all happy. We're happy about that because now it will take some votes away from Cuomo. I mean, inevitably. There's no two ways about it. So that's going to be interesting. And Adams, listen, when he was mayor, I was like, okay, fine, I'll give him a shot. It's okay. Listen, as long as you do the right thing, for God's sakes.
Right.
But his, it was way over his head. He was, and Curtis has said this, and it's a known fact. I mean, this guy was more into the suits and the nightlife and the whole pomp and circumstance and stuff. It's a very serious job.
It really is. It's a very serious, a very sober job. It's a very, and you think back to the people who did it well. That's how they approached it. Rudy. Oh my God, Rudy.
Rudy. And that man has been excoriated. It's just awful. It really is. What's happened, and I hope he's able to recover financially. But as far as mayors go, he is the template.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Oh yeah. LaGuardia. He was another LaGuardia. We were so blessed to have him. Listen, next time you're going to have to do some catnaps during the day, and you got to come in. You got to come in next time. We got to get you to come down. We'll have some coffee. We'll have some fun, and you come down from the Upper East Side, come in for an hour, and then go right back home. But it'll be worth it. I'd love to see you in person.
Definitely. We'll make a date. I promise.
That would be you came all the way to the Valley. You can come down from the Upper East Side. Everybody, this has been Ellen Karas. Do me a favor, go to, at Greek Chick Comic on Insta, on Twitter, on Facebook. She's on all the social media, and EllenKaras.com. And, anything coming up that you wanted to plug? Anything we can see you all over our TV as well?
Yes, actually, this Wednesday I'm going to be doing something outdoors for all the people in Long Island at Eisenhower Park.
Yeah,
that's in Hempstead, I believe, Eisenhower Park.
Yes,
and then I'm in the Borscht Belt Comedy Festival, July 26th, up in Ellenville. A Nice Greek Girl, with the Borscht Belt. August 2nd, I'm going to be in Hilton Head Comedy Club. August 9th, Sellersville Theater in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. And August 28th at the Suffolk Theater in Riverhead. Oh, and then more on my website,
Beautiful.
Always hustling.
Always hustling.
Always hustling. But I would love to come in.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're going to make a date.
Next time. For sure. Everybody, Ellen Karas, go to EllenKaras.com. You're the very best. I love you to bits, and thank you for the time. Thank you, my darling.
I love you, too. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye, everybody.
And we shall return on 77 WABC. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. Stay right there.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
Thank you to Ellen Karas for joining and lifting the spirits. A funny woman. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. And we are in the home stretch here of a Sunday morning after a Saturday evening where we all saw the rubber finally hit the road with our great United States military bringing it and doing the deed in Iran, and finally taking away their nuclear capabilities at long last. And that's been all the talk. And I believe at 8 a.m. this morning, there's going to be a press conference from the Department of Defense with Secretary Pete Hegseth. That's coming up. And to deliver all of that news will be Liz Radabali with the 5 a.m. newscast, as they bring you every Saturday and Sunday morning here on 77 WABC. I am grateful for everyone being here. Let's get over to waiting forever and ever and ever. Joaquin, good morning. Joaquin in Pennsylvania. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, TJ.
Good morning.
You know something? This was classic Trump. He threw them off with the 2 weeks he's going to think about it.
Yeah.
And he went in there and he struck hard. And I do want to answer something to Keith that said that they should have bombed all these other places. No. Mm-hmm. You know what? You don't want to turn the people against us.
Right.
And, the Iranian Revolution, they bought the propaganda. They are predominantly 90 or 85% Muslim, but they got more than they bargained for. But they overthrew the Shah. Mm-hmm. And so now it's a time that they're angry and they want to throw this regime over. So going and bombing multiple locations like that would be just a bad idea.
Yeah, it just, and just even when you hear it explained like that, the way he was, just literally chapter and verse, daisy cutter this, and, firebombing, we don't, like you said, that would turn, right now we're on the right side of this, where we are taking a nuclear capability situation away from the number one sponsor of terrorism. We go and pull a Dresden firebombing, we're going to be accused of terrorism.
Exactly. And something, if I was flying one of those jet fighters, I'd be cranking out Dan Yankee's bad reputation.
Yes, that would be a good one.
And, as far as, this New York, mayor race goes,
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to say most New Yorkers are either stupid or they have cognitive failure like Joe Biden, the whole Joe Biden Jr.'s. I cannot believe that, you know, that they want to put Cuomo. I mean, Cuomo, Mondami, either one of them. I mean, Cuomo was a tyrant, and people should not forget what he did during COVID. And I'm sorry to say, but you know something? I think that a really good tactic would be to push Democrats to go for Mayor Adams, because if, God forbid, it's not Curtis Sliwa, at the very least, Mayor Adams is the least of all evils, and at least he is working with the Trump administration. But, you know, Cuomo is very, very scary. And, you know,
he's scary because he's smart. He's scary because he's smart. He's scary because he's resourceful. The guy has served, I mean, you know, a lot of people forget the guy served as secretary of was it, he was HUD, right? Wasn't he? No. Yes. Yeah. He was housing and urban development. Yes. You know, the guy let alone being governor and prior to that attorney general in New York, he knows the levers of power. He knows how to turn the screws, get results, and he knows how to wield the power. And he's just, like you say, he's a dangerous guy.
Yes. And, you know, perhaps maybe another piece of advice. I've been looking, they have these radios out there. They're basically like, you know, two or multiple way radios that are not telephones. And they're showing some that have very long ranges. And, you know, I don't know if you remember on 9/11, I was in a tractor trailer up in Maine at a rest area to sleep when I got up and went inside the Burger King. And I'm looking at the TV and everybody's like freaked out and was like, what's going on? You know, I said, we just got attacked. And cell phones didn't work.
Right.
You know, so,
right. Yeah. The circuits were jammed. The cell phones just stopped. The towers were down. And, I mean, you even see that, in the aftermath of a hurricane or a microblast when a tower goes down, like even where I am up in northern Westchester, in the suburban area, if one major tower goes down, you can get if not an outage, a real slowdown.
Right.
Yeah.
And just one more thing, you know, people remember, yes, as Americans, we have a constitutional right to free speech, but we do not need to import anti-American, anti-Israeli, you know, anti-Western civilization ideologies into our countries. And, you know, I'm talking about these foreign student visas and things like that. These people should be kicked out immediately. I mean, just think, World War II, we would have allowed Nazis to come into the country, you know, and spread their propaganda. They allowed it pre-World War II, but it's, you know.
There you go. Thanks, Joaquin. Always good to talk to you. Thank you, Pally. Have a good Sunday. God bless. All right. We're going to take our final break of the morning. We shall return in a moment. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
Saturday was all over the place. Saw that family of mine. I love them dearly. A couple awkward moments. What are you gonna do? But love them. Lucky. Life on life's terms. Thank you, God. Thank you. Simple prayer, by the way. Here's your little Sunday takeaway from TJ. Here's a little Sunday takeaway from TJ before we talk to George to just kiss this baby goodbye. Here's the simplest prayer one of the simplest prayers I ever heard. This might be the simplest. Aside from just thank you, God. All right, that's a good one, right? This is a great one. Thank you, God, for everything you've given me. Thank you for everything you've ever taken away. And thank you for everything you've left me with. I was not expecting that. Thank you. Yes. That's about as simple as it gets. And here's another golden nugget. Heard this from a buddy of mine in an AA meeting. We'll gather that part of the family back again next Saturday. But this is another good one I heard. It's God's job to love me and my job to act like it. There we go. George in Brooklyn, bring us home, George.
I'm going to bring you home. TJ, great show.
Thank you, sir.
It's going to be a four-way race because also the working parties working families party has a candidate. It's going to be Zamandi, so probably be a four-way race. it's a misnomer, the name Working Families Party, because everybody who votes for that party doesn't work. They're on welfare.
Right, and they don't want to work. They're in. Go ahead. Sorry.
Correct. And I'm hoping Curtis could also get on he's going to be Republican, but I hope he gets an independent line, because in New York City there are people who will not vote Republican. What will they do? Some of them will just stay home, or they will vote for one of these clowns, and the other independent Adams. They'll just do something crazy. So he needs an independent line too, like Rudy did. Rudy was on the liberal line. He won as a Republican and running on the liberal line. So that's what he has to do to really get people to vote for him who will not vote.
Yeah, you have to give safe harbor for some people who won't vote Republican. There are so many non-affiliated voters and fall away Republicans and other. You want to give them an intellectual safe place to vote.
Right, and Mandy, I call him. He's a knucklehead. He's a Rand. He comes from Cortez, Castro's buck-tooted granddaughter, Cortez, Alexander Cortez. He comes from her district. Listen to this. Everybody who is city elected in that district or state elected in that district, like Zamandi and Cortez, they're all communists. They're all elected, like they're communists in there. The 65 Immigration Act is kicking in, folks. You might not be able to vote your way out of it because they love this guy. I'm getting word now that I was told that in his district, the city councilwoman in one of his districts is a Caban, Tiffany Caban. Her and a guy named Generis, who was also the assemblyman and state senate from that area, right? That clown. They were going around telling senior citizens, if you're a victim of crime, don't call the police. Well, who are they supposed to call? Yeah. These people are insane. They want this to happen. People have to realize that.
And look, and they're all, and George, they're all going to pay the price. Cortez is out there, calling for Trump to be impeached. They're all calling for Trump to be impeached. They're all complaining that Trump would, and you know what? They're so intellectually dishonest. They all know that Trump did the right thing last night by ordering that bombing to take out the Iranian nuclear capabilities. They're pathetic sheep that, they rather than come out with a statement of support for our military or a job well done or at least they're home safe, they couldn't bring themselves to even do the bare minimum of praising our military for getting there, getting the job done and getting home safe. They couldn't do that. They have to come out and attack Trump. And Cortez is leading that chorus of dissent. And so, that's where she lives. And there you go. George, thank you so much for bringing us home. I appreciate it. And I appreciate every single one of you guys and gals out there. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being there for this fantastic new thing we've got. Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. Thank you to Mitz Caspatides. Thank you to Chad Lopez. Thank you to Bill and Tony. Grateful for my guys behind the glass making this show better every single time. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday. Liz Radabali is up next with the 5 a.m. newscast. Be well, stay safe, God bless, and I wish you all the luck in the world. We'll see you next Saturday morning.